Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm super excited to get into our analysis today because we're looking at a wild case study that's been spreading like wildfire on social media. If you've ever traveled on Indian railways, you know that absolute sink into your seat relief of finally securing a confirmed second AC ticket. But what if I told you that holding that fully paid, perfectly valid, confirmed ticket could still land you with a massive penalty? Well, today, we are deconstructing a viral incident that hit the nail on the head when it comes to the clash between what passengers expect and the rigid protocols the system actually runs on. Okay, let's dive right in. 2,650 rupees, that is the exact penalty slapped on a female passenger recently, and honestly, here's the kicker. She held a fully valid confirmed second AC ticket. The penalty amount was literally nearly double the base fare of her actual journey. So how does this even happen? How does a confirmed ticket morph into a financial penalty and the total loss of your seat? Well, to figure out the mechanics of this whole shebang, we've got to retrace exactly what went down on the day of her journey. Section 1. The truth of the viral incident, Train 15013, the Ronikit Express. Geographically, the timeline of this event is actually pretty fascinating. The passenger originally booked her ticket from Raikabog Junction going to Gurgaon. Her scheduled departure from Raikabog was bright and early, right at 7:56 a.m. But she didn't board there. The train rolled on to its second station, Jodhpur, then the third, Bhagat Ki Koti. Still no sign of her. By the time the train pulled into the fourth stop, Luni Junction, the onboard TTE officially marked her seat as NT. We'll get into exactly what that means in just a second. Finally, at 9:42 a.m., which is nearly 2 hours and 5 stations later, the passenger physically boarded the train at Pali Marwar. And when she got to her seat, she found someone else sitting right there. And things escalated fast. Section 2. The TTE and passenger argument, the viral clash. So let's look at the passenger's perspective first, which she actually captured in a viral video she recorded herself on her phone. She was incredibly frustrated, telling the TTE, "Why didn't you cancel in Jodhpur? You are a government servant. Do your job. Learn some manners." She firmly believed that because she had a confirmed ticket, and she even claimed to have a valid platform ticket for her entry, she was entirely in the right. From her point of view, she'd paid for the service in full, so her seat should absolutely have been waiting for her, no matter where she actually hopped on. As tensions kept rising, she just kept recording the TTE, threatening to post the whole exchange online. On the flip side, we have the TTE's stance. And this really brilliantly illustrates the rigid, by-the-book enforcement of railway protocols. He pushed right back against the camera, stating, "I am a railway servant, not your personal servant. Read the rules, board from your actual boarding station." The TTE even called for a female Railway Protection Force constable to step in because of the recording and the heated argument. It's super clear the TTE was strictly adhering to the railway's operational manual, while the passenger was operating under a really common yet completely incorrect assumption about how railway ticketing actually works. Section 3. The railway's NT rule, the core mechanics. The absolute crucial point here is NT, which stands for not turned up. When you don't board at your ticketed station, the TTE checks your seat. Now, they don't just mark it immediately. They usually wait a station or two, maybe check the washrooms, ask the nearby folks. But if the seat is still empty by a certain point, in this case Luni Junction, the TTE marks the passenger as NT in the system. And this isn't out of spite, it's a completely automated necessity. The railway just cannot afford to let seats travel totally empty on long journeys, when there are dozens of RAC and waitlisted passengers desperately waiting for a spot. The second a seat is marked NT, it's instantly reallocated to someone else. So there is just a massive gap here between passenger belief and railway reality. Many of us think, hey, I paid full fare, the seat is mine to board from anywhere. I mean, it feels totally logical, right? You bought it, it's yours. But the railway reality is completely different. The system doesn't view a ticket as a permanent physical lease on a chair. It views it as a data point in a dynamic, moving puzzle. The railway relies heavily on this boarding point data to efficiently clear out those massive RAC and waiting lists. Simply put, if you aren't at your designated data point, the system reclaims the resource. Section 4. Why the 2,650 rupee fine? Demystifying the math. Okay, so here is exactly how a standard ticket resulted in such a hefty penalty. The standard base fare for this specific route, say from Jodhpur to Gurugram, is around 1440 rupees. However, when you're caught boarding from an unapproved station after being marked NT, you're technically treated as traveling without a valid ticket for that specific leg of the trip. In about 90% of these cases, the railways don't just charge the base fare. They apply the much higher tot call or premium rate, which bumps the charged fare to 1870 rupees. Then add on the standard second AC penalty of 650 rupees, plus GST, and boom, you arrive at the grand total of 2650 rupees. But wait, the story doesn't actually end with the math. The passenger took her grievances straight to X, pointing out an alleged discrepancy that she basically called a scam. According to the railway's own response, her ticket was officially marked NT at Luni Junction, but the fine receipt generated by the TTE charged her from Jodhpur, which was an earlier station. She argued, if I wasn't marked absent into Luni, why was I penalized all the way from Jodhpur? Observers have noted this likely happened because Jodhpur was the TTE's own boarding station. But for the passenger, this inconsistency only fueled her belief that she was being unfairly targeted.
Section 5. How to avoid the fine. Actionable takeaways.
So, it's actually surprisingly easy to protect your seat if your plans change. The absolute most critical piece of information you need to remember is this. You have the right to officially change your boarding station up to 30 minutes before the actual departure of the train. You can do this super quickly online through the IRCTC website or the Rail Connect app, or by just visiting a physical reservation counter with your ID. By doing this, you update that dynamic data system we talked about earlier. The TTE's chart will instantly reflect your new boarding point, meaning they absolutely won't mark you NT, and your seat will be waiting for you safe and sound.
But hey, what if you forget? What if it's a crazy last-minute emergency? Well, here are some brilliant emergency alternatives. You can call the Railway Helpline at 139, tweet your PNR to @RailmaDod on X, or use the RailmaDod app. Let me share a great real-world example from the source material. Back in September 2023, a passenger traveling from New Delhi to Bhubaneswar realized they couldn't make their original boarding point and were going to board hours later in Kanpur instead. They used the RailmaDod app to alert the authorities. The railway officials literally sent a message directly to the onboard TTE saying, hey, this passenger is boarding at Kanpur. Do not mark their seat NT. And you know what? It worked perfectly. Communication is literally your best defense here.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on. Do strict railway rules effectively protect RAC passengers, making sure no seat ever goes to waste? Or do they unfairly penalize fully paid travelers who might just be facing a slight change of plans? It's a really delicate balance between massive operational efficiency on one side and individual passenger flexibility on the other. Take a second to think about how you would design the system, and hey, be sure to use the official tools we talked about today so you never have to face a $2650 surprise yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.